Hi, this is Mr. Held. Welcome to video 2 of my NPC series for RPGs on Scratch. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I encourage you to start with my beginning course that is in the description below. However, if you're returning, welcome back. Starters though, I'm going to go in to one of my studios and I'm going to take something from one of my students. I've been teaching my robotics classes during the COVID shutdown how to make a video game on Scratch as I teach remotely. So this student's game here has a skeleton NPC player that I'm going to take. I'm going to take their player here and add them as an NPC to my game. And so I want his skeleton graphics. So if I just click on my backpack and drag his sprite, I've actually already done this, and put it in my backpack. Then I'm going to go and start my game with this new NPC. Okay. And so I'm going to open up the project I made in the first video, like I normally do. I can just get there. Okay. And so here's that project. Nope. That's not the project. It's this one. I was practicing there. Okay. So if you followed along with my first video of the series, you have this girl, she moves, she talks, you pick up these coins, all three of them, and she changes her message, okay? So that's the video. This is where you should be, all right? And you don't have to do this, but whenever I start a new video, I make a copy of my game, and I'm going to call this copy, hang on, save as a copy. Oh, I'm going way too fast. Okay, and I'm going to call this one lesson number 2, NPC RPG copy. All right, and I'll go ahead and share that right now. This will be the version I post with my YouTube video that you're watching. Should be in the description now below. All right, so here's lesson 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this sprite, and this was the student's player 1 sprite. I'm just going to call it enemies, okay, because this will be friendlies, NPCs, and this will be enemies. All right, it'll be still similar code. So now they're going to move. It's going to move right with my character because it's made to be a player 1 sprite. So I really don't want any of that code. I'm just going to get rid of all of the code that's on the sprite because it's not a player. It's the enemy. Okay. And just to save time in this video, I'm just going to go into the first NPC I made, and I will just put that in my backpack. I will go to the enemy and I'll bring in the code from. So same exact code as the girl NPC. Okay. Now we're going to move it over. Let's call it -100. So when I reset the game, we don't want any of this touching portion yet. We may do that later. So we're not worried about that. Okay, and it says at the start to switch costume to girl 1. Let's do a down one. Okay, so when I reset the game, he's facing down. That's cool. All right, and so if the Y position of player 1 is greater than the Y position of the skeleton, then we're going to see up 1, okay, and that will be when I come up here and I'm up higher, right? And otherwise, we'll be looking at down 1, because otherwise that means I'm below. And so now he's identical to the girl, except for when I touch him, nothing happens. All right? So let's do something different, though. I'm going to have him move. And I'm going to show you a couple ways you can do it. The way I've ended up doing it is kind of complicated, but there's a few ways you can do it. All right? First, I just want to look at a distance. So I'm not sure if I want if, else, or just if, but let's just start off here. So if, and not the Y position of Ranger, we're going to do a sensing thing here. We're going to sensing, and similar to that, but we're going to do this code called distance. Okay, and I'm going to just throw that away. So if distance to player 1, and I'm going to use a value here, not the Y position, but if the distance to player 1 is greater than, we'll leave it at that, at 50. So if he's further away from me than 50, okay, so we'll do it here. So if, and I'm going to pull these things out. So if I'm my distance is greater than, to player 1 is greater than 50, then what we're going to do is we're going to move. All right, so let's go to motion. And there's a few different ways we can do it. We could say glide 1 second to player 1. Okay. So if I reset the game, it would actually help if this was in this case. So we'll do it there too. All right, and so he just runs right to me. So now he's following me. No matter where I go, he follows. And you can see he switches his, yeah, it's pretty cool. One thing I don't like is where he's positioned on the screen. Like here is okay when I'm above, but when I'm below him, I should be on top of, my player 1 should be on top of the skeleton based on his spot. And I don't know how to fix that yet. So I'm not going to show that this episode because I'm having issues with that. But what I am going to do is something that I did figure out, is how to make it look like he's walking. So I'm going to use something different than the glide. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to say point. So if my distance is greater than 50, I'm going to point towards player 1. Okay? All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move just 10 steps. So in my first beginner video, I showed this movement here. So not X or Y, just move 10 steps basically towards player 1. And then what we'll want to do is we'll want to point our direction back to 90 degrees. Because basically he'll flip upside down or whatever direction player 1 is. Actually, let me take that out first to show you what that looks like. So see, he's kind of like, he'll turn. I mean, if you like that, but he's going to point in the direction, right? But all I have to do is if I just add this here, and then that won't happen anymore, okay? So there's the glide view. Oh, let me do something else. And I want to wait before it happens again. And this is going to be basically the speed. And so the speed of my character is I wait 1 second. And so I'm going to make him slower. He's half as fast right now as my player. So I could see if I was cloning this guy, that could be a variable right here, and that would be the speed. You could set how fast that enemy is. So here I can't get away because this is when he's gliding, but this is when he's taking steps towards me. And what's nice about that is I can just throw this away, and I could just put that right here. It doesn't really matter. Oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe I'll reset and it'll work. Yeah, see? Now he's moving down towards me. Now he's moving up towards me. Pretty cool. Like it. All right, now I'm going to have him look like he's animated when he's moving towards me. Okay? But there's going to be some glitches that'll arise. And so, well, I like to show what happens. So never mind. I'm just going to show you. This is what I would have thought to do. After I do that, he's in the up 1 position here. So I want to just keep running this. So I'm going to say repeat until, and I'm going to say not. So repeat until duplicate this distance is not this. So basically, if the distance to player 1 is greater than 50, repeat this stuff until it's not. Repeat everything in here until that distance between is not 50. Okay? And then what I'm going to say is after I move 10 steps, blah, 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 let's do, we're going to switch costumes. And we're just going to switch through our animations. So after I move that 1, and this is up, so up 4, and I'm not sure about the naming conventions the student used, but I think I figured it out. And I'm going to duplicate all this and put it in here. And then I'm going to change this to up 1. Okay. And then we'll do it again. And we'll do this to up 8. Okay, so we'll check that out. So one of the things that's happening now is he's going to follow me. And if I leave the screen, he's still coming at me. It doesn't matter. And part of the reason why is I'm telling it to keep, and look, now no longer does he switch coming forward and looking at me. He's just in this loop because I said repeat this until you catch up to the guy. Now it'll stop doing that. Right? But when I get it moving like this, all these things, glitches start occurring. And it's because of the fact that I've said repeat this until this. And that's not what I want. Repeat that until this isn't true or some other things. Like repeat until this, or another thing, or until this is not the board. So I can click this not. Whoops. I can think of 3 ors right off the top of my 3 or things I don't want to happen. So repeat this until I'm not on this board. Repeat until this distance is not true. And another not case, repeat this until that's not true. Okay, now let's see if that fixes our problem. Alright, so here he comes. That's not really animated. This is the part that's animated. So if I leave, he's still coming at me. he still was on the screen for a minute. And the reason why is all of these things have to happen until he can turn off. So I also need to have some control, an if statement. And these are going to be ands. So it's going to be basically everything that I have in the or, but I'm going to do it as an and. So if this is true, so if the player 1 is still greater than the y position, if xy still is 0, 0, and if distance to range, so player 1. So I'm basically getting rid of the nots. So if those things are all still true, then do this. I'm going to duplicate that. Put it right there. Put it right here. Wow, it's starting to get complicated. Disconnect this right at the weight. Okay, so I'm just splitting these things apart. It won't look any different as long as I don't leave the screen and all those things don't happen. So I'm just accounting for my glitches. Okay, so now when I reset, this is only when I'm above. I haven't coded it for below yet, but watch. Oh, it won't work because that one's not. Let me reset. He's not walking. Okay, what happened? Alright, so if this is greater than that, I want to put this here. I don't think that'll hurt. It was working before. Repeat until... Oh, this all is in the wrong spot. Right there. There he goes. Looks like he's walking. Okay. I'll reset that again. And it looks like he's walking. And then if I go in here, he should go away pretty quickly. A little bit faster. Up 1, up 4, up 1, up 8. Ah, this got goofed. So I need one more of these. No wonder it wasn't looking right. And I'm going to change this to up 8. And then back to up 1. Alright, so that should look right. Just kind of testing it. And this is what you should do, is as you're making your game, you should always test it. And I don't really... I'm wondering if I could get away with this as up 4, get away with this as up 1, and call this one up 8. And just take this out. And just let me test that. Yeah, I like that. It looks great. I'm going to throw that away. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move this whole thing. I'm going to say this, boom, copy the whole thing, and now we're going to go down here and we're just going to match it up to the down movements. So when he's moving down, just using this as a guide. Okay? Alright, and so then this is... Alright, so this is coming out of there, and this is getting thrown away. Alright, so repeat until switch costume to down 4. So really all I'm doing here is switching these to the proper down versions. So that would be down 1, and this one would be down 8. And then there's going to be some other things too, like for instance this will be the same, but this case is when we're below. So one of the things that's going to stop this from happening is when we go above. The other case is when we were coming below, and that's going to stay the same. Alright, I'm going to throw this out. Okay, and we're going to bring this in. Alright, now these are going to change too. So this is going to be the opposite, so it's going to be not. But the other things will be the same. So that's a not, and this one's a not. And everything else stays the same. Alright, cool. So now we have this walking towards us, and the skeleton's now walking after us, and when we pass him, he chases us. I think I'm going to call that good for this session. So we have now 2 different NPCs, real basic NPC, and the fate effect of a girl, where she turns and depending on where she is in relation, and then another more advanced NPC, this enemy NPC that's now following me around as I go. But if I leave the board, it does not follow me onto the board. So but he's still in the position he was in when I come back. All right. So cool. So until next time, see you on the next video.